After months of stalled negotiations in Washington, there is some optimism that another round of pandemic relief could be approved before the end of the year. Lawmakers and their staffs are working around the clock to make a holiday miracle happen. A proposed $908 billion plan doesn't include direct checks to Americans, but it does give funds to small businesses, the unemployed, and some specific industries that were hit hard this year. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky represents Illinois' 9th District, covering the city's north side and northern suburbs from Evanston to Winnetka and beyond. Congresswoman Schakowsky joins us from Washington. And welcome back to the show. It's so good to see you. I want to start with my congratulations to you on being reappointed, Senior Chief Deputy Whip. Let me ask you, Congresswoman, what in that role you're going to do, and how do you work in a House with a slimmer margin now?
Well, actually, the job of whipping, which means trying to get Democrats all on the same page so that we can actually pass legislation, you're right to point out that with a reduced margin in the House of Representatives among the Democrats, we're still in the majority, and that's a good thing. Coming to consensus and making sure that we have everybody lined up for votes is going to be more of a challenge. But I certainly am getting the feeling this week, as we look ahead to the new Congress, that there's a lot of will to be working together and finally getting some things accomplished. Undoing some things and doing a lot of new things.
I know there's a bold agenda. We'll talk about that, but let's talk about the COVID relief bill. The Senate appears to have some life around it, $908 billion. But I mean, let's be honest, that's not the $2 trillion or even the $1 trillion that Speaker Pelosi has talked about. It's not what House Dems want. It's not a stimulus package. This looks like a survival Band-Aid.
Well, let me just say what you said, that there is nothing about a relief check to individuals. I know that right now Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell is in favor of that too. The problem that we have is the White House right now. But you know, I would say it's not totally off the table. But there is help for small business, the Paycheck Protection Program. There's money for state and local government. Not nearly what we want, but let's remember, again, we have a new administration that's going to be coming up very soon, and the president-elect has talked about another stimulus package. So if we can just help people, like the unemployed are going to get a $300 a week help. It's not the $600 that they had before, but it's something.
And I know it carries through till March and not ending at the day after Christmas, which is a nice thing for them. Look, if the Senate stays in Republican hands, if it does, then my question is, does passing this bill now give Mitch McConnell an out just after the first bill when he went, we've done something, we don't need to do anything for a while? This is a bill, clearly, again, Democrats want more, but does it let McConnell in the new year just go, we just passed something, we just gave out $908 billion?
No, because he has vulnerable Republican senators that are going to be running for re-election. And I know they're getting the same kind of calls that I'm getting. People who are really desperate right now. And if we don't address the problem, if we don't help to, at least if not make them whole, help a lot, then Mitch McConnell will be under a lot of pressure, and I assume that's going to also come from his own members.
And again, if the Senate stays Republican, I ask that because if it turns Democratic after the Georgia election, these questions are moot. But if it stays Republican, would you as a whip, would Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, would you have to sort of go after bills that are a little more moderate in their nature? Because, you know, last term, as you know, Mitch McConnell ended up with, what, 450, 500 bills sitting on his desk he wouldn't even call. That's not going to make you happy.
No, but he called himself the Grim Reaper. That is, that the Senate was the dying point for bills that came over from the House. There wasn't anything, even bipartisan bills. Most of those bills on his desk were actually bipartisan. Now that we'll have the House and the White House, everyone will know where the chokehold is, and that will be in Mitch McConnell in the United States Senate, and he's going to have to change his ways as well.
President-elect Biden has said that, number one, you got to get a handle on the virus, and then you can address the economy. How is the House planning to address those issues? Will we be seeing bills on both of those issues, pandemic and economic relief, or will pandemic stuff come first? What's the plan?
There's no way to separate those issues. If we don't do something to crush the virus, no one is going to be able to get out, get back to work, get back to a normal life. So the president has actually made a very modest offer saying, join me in the first 100 days in a a pledge to wear a mask. We are seeing that the vaccines are coming on board. Even this month, we're gonna see some in Illinois, and we're absolutely going to have to address both at the same time. They're not separate issues. The economy is dependent on getting the COVID virus under control.
You commented after your reappointment that you talked about in the past you worked side by side with late Congressman John Lewis. And with this Democratic President and Vice President Kamala Harris, what kind of justice reform bills do you see coming out of the House?
Oh, I think that is going to be at the top of an agenda. You know, we were able, because of the organizing that a lot of activists did in the community, we were able to even pass a bill in the House and a much more modest one in the Senate on criminal justice reform, on police reform. And I think the expectations are very high that we're going to be able to do some really important things that address systemic racism, that address police reform. I think everybody's looking forward to that.
We just have a minute less, but listen, Democrats want to see the government go after the president, his family members, for everything that's gone on for the last 4 years. And President-elect Biden has basically said, look, let the Attorney General do what he's going to do, but maybe there will be peace. Where do you stand on that? Should the government go after the Trump family?
Oh, I don't think it's just that Democrats or the government, but I think we definitely will say, look, when you have a situation where a president is talking about giving advance pardons to members of his family, to who knows how big that list is, that tells you that this has been a really corrupt administration. I think what you're going to see is that we're going to close some of the loopholes that we didn't even know were there for a president to violate. And so one of the things I think we'll be concentrating on is making sure that no future president can do the kind of lawless activities that this president has done.
Sounds like legislation to come. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, again, congratulations on the position, and have a wonderful holiday season. Our best to your family.
And to you. Thank you so much.
All right.